Hello and welcome, everybody. A new year, a new beginning, and a new season for me. We are here with somebody who has been a working colleague, a boss, a super boss, we used to call. And I'm starting a new theme called as a nursing ally. And when I thought about this theme, the first person that came to my mind is this gentleman. A person with whom you can talk anything from cost of poor healthcare quality to what's the recipe for pani puri. Um, when you talk about healthcare quality and when you talk about a great boss to work with, this gentleman tops the list. Thank you so much, Dr. Parag Rindani, for coming on this show. I am quite honored.
Well, thank you for thinking of me and thank you for inviting me. I think it's really an honor to see because I remember seeing you grow from a fresher BSc nurse in my ICU to where you are today, and all through the chief of nursing profiles and stuff. So it's really an honor, Pearl. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For the audiences, Dr. Parag Rindani is the Group CEO of Okhar Hospital and somebody who has given the platform for the nurses, somebody who gave them an equal seat at the table in the boardroom. I'm so proud of you, sir. And so let's begin immediately with the very first question. Since, like you said, you've seen me as a nurse right from my beginning days of career, and I have seen you as a microbiologist in the same hospital where we work. So when you started your journey in medicine, as a student, what were your thoughts about the nursing profession?
So frankly, nursing for me was somebody, who was there, did what was supposed to be done, followed orders. This is despite the fact that I trained in the USSR and I actually underwent a 2-month stint as nursing duties after my third year. So despite that, it was like all about, people who popped out medications and gave jabs of injections here and there and who, dealt with irate patients. I think over the years, Indian healthcare and me particularly, we've actually seen this narrow lens explode into a kaleidoscope of roles that nursing have taken over, right from the bedside nurse to a chief of nursing, a nurse manager, a nurse educator. And we've actually seen, nurses take charge of, COO, CEO positions, at least in India, and I know abroad as well. So I think to that end, I have personally seen nurses grow from a very, very narrow lens that I had. And to that end, just proves how short-sighted I was. And to this expanse of roles that nurses have come to fill. Actually, if you look at it, part of the reason why nurses don't do what or don't grow to what they're supposed to grow is also because they're very sort of they get very used to taking in orders and all. And to my mind, something that I've always believed is that nursing is a independent profession which needs to grow into its own. And I believe over the last decade we've come to age in dealing with that fact that nurses are here to contribute as independent healthcare professionals. And, if we don't empower them, if we don't treat them the way they're supposed to be treated and don't give them that empowerment, I think we are the ones as healthcare CEOs who are going to lose out. So to that end, narrow lens to extremely broad spectrum, I think I've really changed my perspective on nursing. This is over 30 years of my career.
Thank you, sir. And I guess you had some strong nursing professionals working with you also. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm
Right.
talking to one of them.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. My pleasure. So when you already answered our next question that was on the list to some extent. So absolutely, it's changed for the better, the whole nursing profession. But what was that first interaction which changed your perception of nursing?
Oh, so this is, I guess, when you were also a staff nurse working in that ICU. I think this was year 2003. And as a microbiologist, I'm on my rounds and I'm seeing that suddenly there's this patient who crashes. And, we have a couple of junior doctors there. The intensivist is in the other ICU taking rounds. And suddenly I see this lovely young lady called Becky, Sister Rebecca, who used to be the nurse in charge. Becky just looks at everybody for a second and saying, "Hey, you guys, you're doing it all wrong." And she just starts giving CPR single-handedly. I mean, I have never seen a force like Rebecca D'Souza in the ICU giving CPR. And I've seen innumerable such instances of people on the floors, nurses on the floors, picking up the slack, taking on the knowledge gaps, with other professionals. Remember, we come from a day and age when we didn't have clinical pharmacologists on the floor. So we've seen nurses take all that responsibility. I know that with you and your group, you all created that entire, encyclopedia of pharmacological knowledge that was required by the bedside nurse to know. So I think while Rebecca may stand out as something that kickstarted the entire revolution of understanding nursing as a profession in my mind, I think we've seen a lot. I remember the day and age when we had another stalwart called Regina Raj, our operation theater nurse executive, who in 2004, amongst 700 nursing professionals, something like the American OR Nurses Association, India also has something like that. She just, when she was asked, how many of you still fumigate your ORs? She was the only one who says, well, we don't, because we believe that, whatever CDC says is what we should do. And we go by the, class 1 recommendations of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And then that's when I realized that nurses are not just people who do things. Nurses are a force to reckon with in terms of the knowledge that they have and in terms of the practice that they can actually percolate. You see, at the bedside, it's the consultant is there for maybe 20 minutes at the bedside. The resident is there for maybe a couple of hours in the day. But it's the nurse who's there for those 3-4 hours with each patient, talking to them. So I think that's the change. So if anything, I would look at Rebecca and Regina, and God bless them, for actually kickstarting the change. This is followed up by your boss, and your mentor in some ways, Elizabeth, who kind of taught me that it's not about your doctors and my nurses who make mistakes. We used to fight like cats and dogs as chief of medical services and chief of nursing services. At some stage, we both realized that, hey, listen, the nurse is also here to do good for the patients, and the doctor is also here to do good for the patients. And when you have that shared quality agenda, when you have that commonality of purpose, I think that's when, doctors realize what all nurses can bring to the table and vice versa. So I think that was the beginning, and I think we are still reaping the benefits, Pearl.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I remember my early days as a novice nurse in the ICU, and I look at myself now and I see how far I've come. But I'm really thankful for the strong base that I started with, which made me so knowledgeable as to how not just the profession of nursing is run, but as to how the entire hospital is run. And like you actually put it rightly, the shared quality agenda. And that's what I think I learned at Wokhar, and that gave me made me rather very wise in healthcare operations as I went ahead in my career. So I totally agree with you, and I'm really grateful. And I remember when you talk about Sister Rebecca and Sister Regina, there was Sister Rani, and we used to call them the 3 R's of Wokhar. I remember the cath lab was a terror for me to enter at that time because of Sister Rani, and she wanted everything prim proper, and she was like the boss. I remember the doctors being scared of her before they.
Well, she may not accept it now because we're very close friends, but I still am scared of her professionally, So I guess just goes with the territory.
Right. So that brings us to the next question. So as a CEO, I've seen you played a marvelous role, in promoting nurses in your organization, taking up different portfolios, taking up different professions, giving them the autonomy to work. Can you give us a few examples how this has worked out for our audiences, mostly nurses who look at the show? We need to, make them understand how CEOs can build that platform for them.
So I wouldn't take credit, I wouldn't take all the credit here. I think it all started with our chairman, Dr. Habil Korakiwala sir, who was very, very clear that, nursing has to be a differentiator as we build the practice. And therefore, way back in 2001, we tied up with Harvard Medical International. We got, the entire Harvard team over. Would be very bad if I didn't mention, Betsy, Patricia, and our HR colleague Joanne. So what happened was that they gave us a very strong foundation of what nursing protocol should be, what nursing leadership should be, and later on even what nursing governance should be. So I think that today nurses should read up on the potential areas where they can take leadership roles within the healthcare ecosystem, and they should just drive into that. One classic example is that of quality improvement. You yourself have been party to some of the quality improvement projects that we've undertaken, and at the end of the day, the patient benefits from whoever kickstarts the project, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a doctor, or an administrator, and the CEO is only too happy to see quality improving. So take, for example, our very, very old ventilator associated pneumonia reduction project, or for example, the we've started recently about 8 years ago. We actually started with nursing as the base, an entire process called Code White, which is focusing on, like, you have a door to balloon time for PAMIs. We started on a door to needle time for stroke patients who come in. Um, so when you look at all these processes, if you look at discharge communication, I remember Elizabeth drove this entire thing for our pediatric cardiac program, wherein teachback became something which is very, very important for patients who would not understand English. Remember, these are people coming in from tier 3 towns, from villages, who don't really even understand the local language. So imagine, if you were, that you have the senior nurse sitting talking in a language which the patient, and remember, all accreditation always talks about that language and format that is understood by
Yeah.
the patient.
Yeah.
So imagine if you are that somebody's telling you in Gujarati or Marathi or Hindi that hey, this is how you're going to give the medication, and this is how you're going to take wound care, and can you teach me back as to how you're going to do it? So one scene, okay, but when you do it yourself and she actually assists on the day -1 of discharge, I think these are some of the projects that which really helped us. You would recall when, between yourself, Shine, Devashri, and Elizabeth, when we went around, formulating the medication preparation cabinets based on a 5S methodology. Now, it's worked. It's worked beautifully. It's actually reduced some medication errors. I think my message to today's nursing would be: don't feel shy of bringing in other domains knowledge into your domain, into our domain. I think whatever works, there are people who do benchmarking of discharges against pizza delivery, surgeries against pizza delivery. So whatever works in terms of improving process, which is the base of quality, I think that's something which all of us should jointly work. I also feel that nurses can do wonderful. We right now are doing a few projects on teaching again. We are going back to the patient rights piece, because ethics has become so much important. I also feel that nurses are the harbinger of, you know, the true north, as I love to call it. I think they're the ones who speak loudest about anything that goes wrong with patients. Doctors may not notice it all the time, but that's why you need a nurse to be at the bedside.
You're absolutely right, sir. And I think that's what has been encouraged where we used to work in Woka, because they are at the bedside. And I think bedside nurses are the one who can actually give such innovative ideas and what is right for the patient. So thank you for bringing that. I like that term, true north. So that's going to probably be the hashtag for the series, right? So, says nursing. Now we talk about nursing being a cost center. I remember over the period of my career in 22 years, from cost center, I am seeing the change in language. It's not a cost, but it's a revenue center. So, do you have any examples to share with the listeners where nursing has actually impacted the hospital revenue?
Very, very, bright examples, I would say, very cost effective examples. We recently put in an entire thing around auditing what we are putting down on paper in the bill. Now, what happens is that it not only picks up what the nurse might have missed out in terms of putting down, but what has also happened is it also negates any duplicates that may have happened. Now, over the last 6 months, what has happened is we've managed to correct the entire thing of, inadvertent overbilling, inadvertent underbilling. That's one. The second thing is, I feel that nurses are the backbone of the discharge process, and discharge per se is a profit center, a revenue center. The moment you discharge a patient in time, you have a bed which is vacant. That bed gets filled by the next patient. Automatically, it enhances the revenue of the organization. But I think the most impactful place where I would say we are seeing sort of the revenue part coming up is related to the whole piece around healthcare associated infections. The faster you're able to turn around a bed, the faster you're able to send a patient home without infection, and the more you're able to focus on sort of him being well. See, we don't need to make a patient more ill, we need to make him well, him, her, them. So I think the piece around our infection control nurses, and I'm not saying this because I'm a microbiologist, but I feel that reduction of healthcare associated infection and focusing on the antibiotic stewardship is something that our infection control nurses have done very well, jointly, of course, with the teams in terms of the doctors, the administrators. But I think that's one place where walking the talk has helped the institution the most. We are able to see patients who potentially were high risk for infections go home without infections. We've seen surgical outcomes improve because of nurses taking better care. All of this indirectly, directly leads to nurses becoming a quote unquote revenue center. I won't call it a profit center. But I think the most important thing has been the fact that today nurses, we managed to empower them to be able to speak up for the patient. And that itself is revenue for the organization when the patients feel, no, this organization cares enough for me to let even a nurse tell the doctor, hey, listen, I think we're doing something wrong here. So I think that empowerment itself is something that predisposes to the um, revenue centerpiece around nursing. I don't know. Maybe I've given you a mishmash of examples, but I believe that there's so much that nurses can contribute. Uh, just the fact that today we have specialty nurses within the organization who decongest some of the load of the doctors, the counseling, the medication sort of discussion. We have a call home protocol wherein we call our patients after. I know you probably do this all the time in the UK, but we have this protocol wherein we call our patients and we ask them. We have nurses visiting our stroke patients, our neonates who go home, whether they are comfortable or no. I think all of this enhances the overall non-financial revenue of the organization in terms of the value that we're able to add. Nurses may not be actually able to contribute in terms of rupees, but I think the overall value addition that we see is something that is unmistakably there. Our chairman always used to say that our patients come for our doctors, but stay for our nurses. This is such a work hard kind of a thing that it's hard to take away from work hard nurses.
That is so true. So when you're narrating this whole thing, that was the quote that was ringing
Yeah,
in
he
my
always
mind.
loves to say that. He loves to say that.
Yeah, and I remember the days when Zabia Kurakiwala, the MD, he used to sit with nurses.
Yes.
I remember other departments used to get so jealous. 3 hours every month she used to spend with us, and we used to call it nursing reviews, where we used to
I
go through
think,
all
yeah,
things.
I think
Yeah.
that's something which is extremely critical. I think top management understanding of what nursing means and the fact that patients do interact maximum with nursing professionals is something that needs to be reiterated to everybody amongst the nursing department today.
So if I can ask you, if I have to convert the impact monetarily, do you have any figures to put to it?
So
If
I'll give you a classic example. I have a very good friend called Sanjeev Singh. He is medical director at the Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, Faridabad. And about 4 years ago, he had published a paper that while the US has its figures on infection prevention, and of course, infection prevention is a team game. It's not just a nursing thing. The cost of an infection can be somewhere around 180,000 Indian rupees, which is about 2,000 US dollars additional spend for a patient once admitted to the hospital. We are not even talking about intangible losses of patient stay, potential legal cases, etc. But very important to understand that that's the additional cost. So imagine if a nurse or a team of nurses saves 10 infections. Bingo, that's the money. Also, in terms of medication errors, that's another thing which we are quantifying now. We've got this huge project going on over the last 4 years across the group on medication error reduction. Now, while not all medication errors, A to I, not all of them come from nursing, nurses do hold a huge part in terms of the administration and all of that. So we are trying to see, even if we can catch it at a pre-near miss level, I think that's another tangible cost which I have not yet factored out, but that's something which is there. So I think there's money everywhere. It's just that uh, we just need the nurses to stay for more than 2 years, Pearl. That's the most important thing.
That's the difficult part, isn't it? So,
That's our
yeah,
challenge. That's our challenge
it
in
is.
India.
That is the challenge for everybody. So, yes, um, yeah, that is something we'll deal with in our next section of questions. But moving on to our next. So, you often talked about the importance of nursing, and in your view, talking about the theme of the show, in your view, what does being an ally of nursing mean to you?
I think there's only one word. It just means empowerment. I think it's. I think if I were to ever think of myself as an ally of nursing, um, I think my nursing head shouldn't really mind if I don't join her on the 12th of May, as long as I'm there for the other 364. So I think being an ally of nursing means being there when it's required. Uh, uh, we know of stories when we've stood up for it's this is not just about nursing. I think it's about everybody in the institution. Every professional, be it a technical professional, a doctor, a nurse, everybody has their own professional place, their professional right to be where they are, their professional respect. So I think overall, um, if we are able to give them that empowerment where they're able to speak up, you know, I loved what I saw at a group of hospitals that said nothing about me without me. So as long as we're able to engage with patients, as long as we are able to empower our nurses so that they are able to do what is truly right for the patient and not just for filling up a form or a book or a register or a medical record, I think that's when we'll be true sort of leaders who empower their nurses. The other thing is, I just think that you just need to go and talk to your nurses. Most of us don't even take rounds nowadays. We're too busy with corporate practice and, MISs and all. I think when you go on the floor, if nothing else, you just recognize some of the senior nurses. You may not know all of them. But even if you're there, I remember during COVID, our nursing professionals used to call up every nurse's parents and say, we're taking care of your nurses or your daughters. They're like our daughters too. Uh, we've done open houses during COVID. We've spoken to our nursing professionals, and I think once they understand that you mean well, it percolates through pretty fast. So I think just walk the talk. Don't just give this 12th May garland, Madam Nightingale, and do that. I think you need to do it every day. Go to Gemba and walk the talk.
Absolutely. Gemba is the game changer, I feel. And that's again the word I learned when I was working with you all. And I feel that's so important. Now, in fact, now even in my role as a research nurse, we do provide direct care, but it's not like an everyday care. It's when we have our clinics and patient comes to us. But it was so important for me to learn what happens when how do the district nurses contact them? How do, when they're in the hospital, how things are done? And I actually spend days in the day unit and the wards to understand how it works, and it makes it so clear when we
Absolutely.
go to Gemba. All right.
Absolutely.
So next question. This is the last question of this section. Yeah. What's one piece of advice you would give to other CEO and other leaders who want to be true allies of nursing? I know you've spoken about empowerment, but if you are imagine speaking directly to them, what would you say?
Spend 20 minutes with your chief of nursing every day. Go on rounds with her at least twice to thrice a week and listen to her or him. I'm being gender agnostic here. I know there are some fantastic males who are chiefs of nursing. Uh, I think you need to just listen. Like you listen to everybody else, you need to give adequate time to nursing. Because remember, nurses are the true eyes and ears on the ground. Anything goes wrong anywhere, it's the chief of nursing who gets to know first. Especially if you've had a chief of nursing like I've had the privilege of working. I think I always had tea with my chief of nursing at about 10 a.m., because I knew by that time she would have got her inputs through her nurse managers. And I think talk to them. The other thing is that when they talk, you don't just listen, you act on what they are saying. There are things which they will tell you which might cost money, but there are things which definitely will enhance patient outcome. And yes, then there are some things which you will learn over this time and say, hey, Elizabeth, did you really want me to do this, or you were just fishing for something for your nurses? And she's saying, yeah, I understand that, but you gave me this. So like we recently got a set of vein finders for all the nurses to do IV collection. We have enrolled our nurses for the infuse program with the Infusion Nursing Society. So when I speak to my 4 nursing heads across the group, and I talk to them at least like once a month in detail and whatever projects we're doing. So I said, are you really sure this infuse program is going to enhance the output? Is it going to reduce phlebitis? So they said yes. And they said, but we need these few things. So I said, fine, let's go ahead. The good part is the managing director herself also is deeply involved in understanding nursing needs. So she would track, for example, what is the NIH-SS score for our stroke patients? When did they go back? How many bed sores did we have? So when you have somebody at that level seeing the nursing quality sensitivity indicators, automatically resources flow. So I think it's not just me as a CEO, but also the managing director, the board, who actually listens and gives resources to ensure that our patient care is well taken care of. That's very important.
Thank you for that message, and I hope that goes across to the leaders who are running the healthcare institutions. But that's a very insightful and very nice message. I remember Elizabeth ma'am had created this whole network where, and I think I also practice this when I became chief of nurse at 7 o'clock in the morning. The
Get
nursing
the calls,
supervisor
messages.
get the call and give a whole download of what happened. And I think information is power. And I think because of that, probably she was also able to, give an advantage to the nurses. What they wanted was given rightly to them. A lot of sensible decisions were made. And I think the grooming that we got in a very well empowered environment is something that we started seeking when we went as nurse leaders in another organization. And I think that is what people recognize us for, saying that you were a person who was sensible enough to ask what you wanted and at the same time accept what went wrong very humbly and bring about improvements. And I think
Absolutely.
that has stayed with us for long. So thank you for being that CEO for us and giving us that platform. Right, so that is the end of our first section. Now we go to the next section, which is called as a rapid fire round. I'm going
Well,
to shoot few questions to you, and whatever first comes to your mind, you just have to say it. All right. So let me just pull out my questions. Right. These are 7 questions, one after other. All right.
okay.
Okay. Are you ready then?
Yeah.
Okay. So, one leadership lesson you've learned from a nurse.
Stay calm, whatever happens.
Yeah, I think that's what's important, isn't it? If she ruffles up, then everything gets ruffled up. Yeah. uh, if you could give nurses one extra resource, okay, time, money, power, or tech, which would you choose?
Time, because I think they could do so much more. They could do so much more for the patients. It's always time.
Yeah, it's always that. I thought somebody would pick money. That's
No, no,
important
no.
too.
I don't think I have this thing that, okay, let me not interrupt your rapid fire, but generally I don't think it's always about money. I wish I could just give them a couple of hours extra to be with their families. Those extra couple of days where I could give them an extra leave to go to their hometown. Uh, that extra 10 days, sort of, in case they need something, you need all sorts of leaves, especially because, bulk of our nurses are women. So it takes that extra time. So time is something I would always give them something more of.
Would go with you for this because when I moved here, that's what I realized, sir. They're not coming here for money, to be honest, because whatever they earn, they do save. Yes, they save a little more extra than what they would probably saved in India, but the cost of living is also high. But I think what they enjoy, the reason why they can probably make more money is because the working hours are less. They can put in extra bank shifts, they can earn extra money, but they're enjoying such a beautiful work-life balance. That's one. And I think
Absolutely.
they are enjoying the dignity of labor, so that's what I have experienced. So
So time. So still, I would still, yeah, I would
yes,
definitely
yes,
stick with time.
absolutely. I go with you with that, sir. Time, absolutely. And next question. One thing you would never dare argue with the nurse about.
Uh, which patients to prioritize. I think she knows what to do. Whatever VIP I may have, if she says I've got to do this first because that patient needs this more than your patient, I respect that. She knows her patients well. They know what they're doing, and I think I would never argue with the nurse on that.
So, what's more terrifying, a board meeting that's running late or a nurse with that look?
I've had both, and frankly, a nurse with that look when she's like, "Hey, listen, you got to do this or else." That's always more terrifying, Pearl. It's always more terrifying. The board meetings, I can apologize, and it's not that time pressing. But when a nurse needs something, she needs it. It's always all about patient care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that answer. Bang on there. Who would win in a crisis, do you think? A team of CEOs or a team of nurses?
Be a bit diplomatic on this one. A CEO-enabled team of nurses.
Okay.
A team of nurses alone might not really win all the time, but somebody who's enabled, somebody who's empowered, somebody who's, uh, you know, very clearly told that true north is where we all go as an institution. I think that's a team of nurses who would win. The team of CEOs, yes, they would win in certain things, but when it comes to patient care, I think you'd have to give it to the nurses.
Thank you. And I think sometimes it may also depend upon the crisis, isn't it? Whether it's a
Yeah, I
financial.
mean, if there's a PR crisis with some COVID thing happening, which we face, for example, I wouldn't expect my nursing
Yeah.
head to step in.
Absolutely.
But then she handled the members of parliament from Kerala who were calling us up all the time, and I handled the press. So I guess it's always a team that wins, and I think the sooner you realize that there will be situational leadership when somebody takes over at some time and somebody else at some other time, I think that's the best bet.
Absolutely. Right. If a nurse gave you an order, your reaction would be one among the three. Question it, follow it, salute and run.
Salute and run, because I'm sure it's got to be something that the CEO's got to do. So I guess salute and run would be the safest option.
Okay. And this is a nice one. If a nurse, if nurses walk into every room with the background music, what song would be playing?
Okay. This is one of my favorite songs, and not that I ever thought of it with reference to nurses, but I guess Queen singing "We Are the Champions." We are the
The champions.
champions, my friend.
Absolutely. So that's
So,
one of my favorites too. Oh, that
so I
music.
guess because uh, not because this is a nursing show, but I guess it takes all kinds to pull off an effective and very efficient kind of care that we render to our patients. And, every small cog is important, every big cog is important. But remember that the big cogs can't work without the small cogs. So that's why when we do need nursing champions, championing for patient safety, championing for patient rights, and basically being the voice of the patient. So I guess "We Are the Champions" sounds as good a song as the other song. Probably I would probably also do is "We Are Family." That's another good one because they are the family of everybody. You know.
It is so that brings us to end of the rapid fire, end of the show, sir. But it's showing about 30 plus minutes in my record time here. But I felt this ended so fast, because like I have told my audiences, you are a person whom you can talk to about anything under the sun, and I feel every time in a conference, when we used to go to healthcare quality conference, I used to see all the nursing heads flocking around you and having like a big laugh. So I think this
Yeah,
episode passed.
well, the reason is because I last year attended ANI, the Association of Nursing Executives of India, and the reason I guess like begets like when they see somebody who cares equally deeply for the things that they care about. I think you generally develop a sort of bonhomie, professional bonhomie, and I think that. I guess that's something which we all need to pick up on. This whole professional divide between uh, doctors and nurses. Uh, I think we just need to give them their seat at the table, empower them, and ensure that their voice is heard appropriately and in a very, very dignified manner. I've seen. I had the privilege of attending. I went to Mass General with as part of the WOCA team, and I actually seen the chief of nursing and the chief of medical staff. Uh, just talking very normally. There's no, I think that's something which is very, very important. I think we really need to learn that in our country. So I just hope we all see it in this lifetime. I
I
think we
hope
are
so.
seeing most of it now.
Yeah, things are changing, and I'm happy they're changing. And there is so much knowledge sharing across the borders nowadays, which I'm happy about. And I think that's also one of the intention of the show, to have this cross-border interactions and
Absolutely.
pass on the best practices. So, thank you so much, sir, for being on this show,
You're
and
most welcome.
always being a nursing ally, a strong nursing ally, I would say, and always supporting the team. And yes, and being the person that you've always been. And thank you for coming to the show. I think it's been quite an
You're
honor.
most welcome.
And
It's an
friendship.
honor, and thank you for the invitation. And specifically, it's great being number one on this particular Allies of Nursing show. Thank you very much, Pearl. All the best.